In today's video, we're going to jump onto our computer and actually edit a church service. So as you may have gathered, that opening sequence and this one right now is actually being recorded on my mobile phone with the microphone that I recommended. And what I've done is I've recorded some clips of a pretend church service, and now we're going to jump onto the editing software to edit that together. But first, what editing software do I recommend? Well, for me personally, I use the Adobe suite, Adobe Premiere Pro. However, that is extremely expensive, and I wouldn't recommend you spending so much money on that when there are a lot of great alternatives. One is DaVinci Resolve, which there'll be a link in the description for, and that one is free. There's also a premium tier to it, but a lot of people who use Adobe Premiere Pro have moved over to that, and so it's quite a premium style piece of software, and so it might be really hard to get your head around it, but if you're into video, then I'd really recommend jumping onto that one. However, that's not going to be the one that we're going to look at today, because it's got quite a steep learning curve at moments, and so I'd recommend looking at YouTube or other guides for that, and we're going to push it to one side for now. But what I'm going to recommend for you who are not into video editing at all and you just want to get your service done and put up online, I recommend Filmora. Now, this is a paid piece of software, but I do have a link in the description below where you can get a 30-day free trial. If you only download it through the normal website link, you won't get that free trial, whereas if you use this link, then you'll get 30 days for free. So now you've downloaded that, we're going to jump straight on over and edit this service. Okay, so I'm now on Wondershare Filmora. I'm on a Mac, so this will visually look slightly different if you're on Windows, but it works in a very similar way, so hopefully you can grasp an understanding of how to use it from this tutorial. But what I've done is I've opened up Filmora, and you'll be greeted with a page like this or something similar to start a new project, and automatically it's set to 16:9 widescreen, which is what we want, so all we'll do is click New Project. So now that we're on here, this is a free trial version, and you do access all the features, but on some free trials you do get a watermark at the end, so I would recommend purchasing this in the end, but for tutorial purposes I've literally got the free trial version. But what you first want to do is you should have copied your video files off your phone and onto your computer. Now you can do that by plugging in your phone and following the on-screen steps, or if you have any problems then you can airdrop. If you've got an iPhone and a Mac, you can airdrop them to yourself, or you can email them, or if the files are too big then use WeTransfer.com, and what you can do is email the files from your phone to yourself. So on your phone, open up your web browser and go to WeTransfer.com, and then email the video files to yourself and then download them on your computer, or you can upload them to the likes of Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever online cloud storage you use. But there are many ways that you can get your files off your phone onto your computer, and so I now have the files here, and these are the three main things that I want to use. I've got an image that I'm going to use and two video files that I've recorded. So what I can now do is just drag and drop them into here. And so that's loading these three files. I'm just going to hit OK on this. I'm not really bothered by that. Okay, so this is your main area. I've actually thrown in another piece of media, which is a music track, just to show you that as well later on. But this is what you're going to be working with. At the bottom here we have what we call tracks, and so this is your editing part. This is where you're going to drag and drop your clips into, and then this is your preview panel. Now if it is jumpy and glitchy, when previewing, don't worry, that sometimes happens when you're previewing your video in an editing piece of software, and your final video will be absolutely fine. So what I want to do for this service is I want to begin with this. So we've got this image that I have, and I want to start off with this. This is, let's say, my church logo or something, and I want to begin the service with this. So what you can see is I'm dragging it down to the start. And so what it's done is this red thing is just like your play bar. So when you're playing along, it shows you where you are on the timeline. And so this has set this for 5 seconds long. And so I'm happy for that to be on about 7 seconds. So I'm going to drag this end and have it end about there. It's just slightly over 7 seconds, but I'm not too bothered. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my first clip.
Good morning and welcome to our test service. We're going to head straight over to our reading now.
So, here we go. I've got this, and it's actually said that the resolution of the frame rate of the media does not match. And so I was actually recording in higher resolution on my phone. However, what I'm going to do is keep this project to 1080p because that is your standard kind of service. So I'm going to click that, and then sometimes you might see that, no, what I was going to say, sometimes this, if you've recorded in 4K, this would then be zoomed in sometimes, but on this video editing software, that's not an issue. So we're absolutely fine with that. So I actually have a bit of a pause at the start. So what I want to do is get rid of that pause. So I'm just going to drag this to there. And so what that has done is removed a bit of the awkward start.
Good morning and welcome to...
And goes straight into me speaking. The same at the end. There's quite a long pause at the end. And I shuffle about. So I don't want that in my service. So what I'm going to do is drag this to a point where I know that I want it to end then. About there. So now I'm going to drag the end to the red line. Boom. Done. Okay. So that is my first clip, and what I'm going to do is do it so it connects and hits that point. So now
Good morning.
It goes straight into that opening talking part. But I want a nice transition. So we're going to head up here to transitions. And you've got a lot of options here, and it's really personal preference on what you want to use. And so I just want a basic linear wipe, and so I'm just going to pull that down and drag it, and as you can see you've got this smaller square over the two things, and if I plonk that there, that has now created a linear wipe.
Good morning.
There we go. There's a nice transition there. And so now that we've done that, we're going to go back up to media, and I've got the reading. And so I'm going to drag this down and drag my red line.
John chapter 1 verses 1 to 4.
So I'm going to choose where I want to put this. So I want to get rid of the awkward start.
1 to 4. In the beginning was the Word,
and then I'm going to go to the end and do the same, get rid of the awkward ending. And there we go. Now I want to make sure that clip is next to each other, and I'm not bothered about a transition for this one.
John
It can just cut to the other one, but it's up to you. Again, personal preference. Up here you've got your transitions. You can add in another transition, the same one or a different one in there. But also now we've got a Bible reading, so we want to show the Bible reading on screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to titles, and here you can see there are quite a few different kinds of titles. Now again, personal preference, but for most of the time with Bible verses and readings you normally have them on the bottom, which is normally called lower thirds. And so there's quite a few templates on here that you can choose. And so I'm actually just going to drag this one to about here. And so as you can see, it's got your text here. And if I double click, it now opens up this area where I can change the text. So I believe this was John 1 verses 1 to 4. And so there you go. You literally have the Bible verse there. And you can change your fonts, the font size, colours, styles, all that kind of thing, and animation as well. I'm just going to leave it as it is for now, but you can have a play around.
John chapter 1 verses 1 to 4.
There we go. So that's the first bit. But now we want to add the actual Bible verses. And so we're going to choose another lower third, one that we can fit a lot of text on. So I'm going to choose this one. It's more of a subtitle, but I feel like this one would work well. So we double click on it, and actually we're going to head on to our web browser, and here I've got bible.com. You can use whatever you want, of course, to just copy the correct Bible translation of the Bible verses. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to head back onto here and paste that in there. And so as you can see, it actually doesn't fit, and so we're going to change the sizing a bit. We don't want to go too small. We can also create line breaks in here. So if we just do this within this text box, we can actually put things on different lines. We can also move this and resize it into a different area as well. So I'm actually going to put this next to me. And so I realise the text is quite small. So I'm going to make sure that I break up these words in a way where they are on separate lines, and then we'll make the text a bit more larger. So there we go. It's popped up a bit more, and we can actually put that in bold. And we could change the whole style of it if we wanted to. So we could put the text like that. That's hard to read. Again, still slightly hard to read. Okay, so I've chosen this, but also we have an option where if you go to advanced, then you now have a few more options to play with. We're going to add this linear wipe.
In the beginning was the Word.
And there we go. We've now added that over the top. And so that's how to add text, and you can do that in whatever way you want. As I said, you can have it as a lower third. You can play around with all the different kind of titles and put them in whatever way you want. The advanced feature that popped up, if you click that, gives you more options such as shadows and ways to move it in different ways. So now we're going to go back And that is pretty much the main kind of thing that you'd do for your service. You'd add different clips in along with titles over the top, but you also might add other audio files such as other people speaking or music tracks. So I've got some copyright-free music here, and I want to play it from the start and then in the background. So what I can do is drag this down to here. And so that music starts playing.
Good morning and
But
welcome to our test.
it is too loud going onwards through these clips, so we need to sort that out. So what we can do is double click onto this and it will pull up this box here. And what this box allows you to do is on the left hand side is adjust the volume for the whole thing. So if I put it to like -15,
John chapter 1 verses 1 to 4. In the beginning was the Word.
then that is a decent kind of volume. However, I would like it to be louder at the start. So what I'm going to do is, because I've already reduced the volume, I'm going to drop it my red line about here to where I start talking and click this icon here. Now that adds what would be like a keyframe. And so that is a point where I've told it has to be at that volume there. Whereas now I can move my red bar slightly back and add another key point, but up the volume on this one to, let's say, 0.5. And so as you can see down here, the volume is louder on this picture, but then drops as I've decided to make it drop there so that when I start speaking, the music isn't too loud.
Good morning and welcome to
And there you go. The music slightly fades down. Or if you wanted to, you could actually cut this track to end at that point. So what you could do is click cut and delete this other bit and actually have this fade out. And so as you can see here, if you pull the edge, it will fade the music out.
Good morning and welcome to our test service.
And there you go. Those are pretty much so there you go, that's pretty much what you need to do an online service. You can have your logos and images throughout your services and then various different clips with overlaying text boxes as well, and then background music, songs or things like that.
So there we go, you can easily use your phone like I'm doing right now and that cheap microphone, £7 roughly, and then that cheap editing software, and you can put together an online service. I hope you found that really helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and what other things would you like to see? In upcoming videos we will be looking at how to edit pictures to then put those in your services, or make thumbnails for YouTube and Facebook, and then also look at copyright-free music and images as well. So I hope to see you soon in my next video.